week 2 lab assignment. Week 2 lab assignment consists of chapters 8 and 9. We worked on attributes and we read up on a couple of things here on chapter 8, working with colors, images, and multimedia. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and proceed with HTML programming of these attributes. We're going to add colors and work with the font sizes. There's a couple of things specifically HTML tags that you all should be aware about. So we're going to go ahead and jump in real quick. This video is going to be focused on the lab assignment. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and jump into infinityfree.com. For those of you who have signed up for infinityfree.com, you should have already received your URL. I have logged in to my personal, the STC login that I'm using my STC credentials. I have received my URL. The URL is found here on my label. The only thing you should really copy is from here forth, website label 4, and you copy and you paste this on your address bar on any of the browsers, and you should be able to pull up your website. For those of you that do not have anything in those situated in your htdocs and your cPanel, not to worry, we'll get through that real quickly. Just a quick rundown. I believe that's part of the first week's assessment, but no, not to worry. I know there's people that receive issues when they're barely creating an account. Sometimes it takes up to 72 hours to actually create it, but don't you guys worry. Just check it up on a daily basis and make sure you reach out if you still have any issues regarding reaching your URL. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our file manager, which our file manager is where we should have our documents reposited so that we can start viewing our very first web page that we're going to be working on. Next, we're going to go into our repository, which is htdocs. We're following your first week's lab video, and it takes us to anything and everything we want to show on our website will be on here. This is our back end. Remember, folks, whenever you're creating a new HTML document, which is what we're going to be uploading into our htdocs, make sure it has the extension, make sure it has a dot, and make sure it has the HTML at the end. Later on, we're going to be working with CSS scripts and other types of JavaScript scripting. Therefore, it is very crucial that you add this extension, the dot, into any and all pages that you want to create. We're going to go ahead and go into our week 1. Just real quick rundown of our week 1 assignment. Now, this code that I've generated, I've used Coffee Cup Editor, and I apologize for not having that ready just yet, but here we go. I'll look into it real quick. HTML editor. Okay, I have to set up for the semester, but if y'all get the gist, and Coffee Cup Editor will give you the HTML editor. What is real cool about the HTML editor is that it highlights like an autocorrect where you're going to be missing a tag, a closing tag, opening tag, a corresponding tag whenever you're creating an attribute. For instance, right here, our very first assignment on week 1 should have been our hello world assignment. You can practice with this, but we're going to be jumping into week 2 for this particular lab assignment. Notice that we have an H2 tags the start and then closing tag as well inside our body. So if you read the books on chapter 1 and 2, give you a brief breakdown of placements or the layouts that's going to be provided for you, that you're going to be creating when you create your web page. So in your head section is where you have some of the components that you're going to be referencing some of your attributes to. Uh, I'll explain that later. Also, some of the things that you might see in the head tag is the title tag, which is what it comes out in the tab section, little text on the tab, and of course, within your body is when you start creating any and all code that you're going to be displaying. So on week 2, we're going to be working with fonts. We're going to create different colored backgrounds, perhaps on divs, using divs. So very crucial that you read chapters 8 and 9 prior to getting some of this coding started. Let's go back to our what's required. Submission requirements. Submission requirements. I want you guys to submit the very same HTML file that you created, whether it was Coffee Cup Editor. I've seen some people use what was it, GitHub, and people use also Visual Studio. Um, all those are fine as long as you can export your um, your document. Export, create your file, save and export .html. It might be found in your downloads file once you download it from your editor, and then go to your HD docs, which is this here, and the HD docs, and of course reposit in here. It is also possible to create one from scratch in your file editor. I'm sorry, in your HD docs file editor, which is going into edit and then generating it. And then, of course, the only issue that I have with here is you are not going to have very much help at all in your closing tags, opening tags. So if you're missing, colon, a semicolon, a closing tag, etc., it will fail to compile, and you will have an error message 403, 404, etc. If you not be able to view it on your front end. So that's why these are editors. External editors are very important. Okay. So submission requirements is that file that you just downloaded, exported, and download. Um, submit it in the bottom. Submit it down here in the submission, right here. You're gonna have to compress it into a zip file. So 7-zips file. There's a couple of them out there that you can use. WinRAR, WinZip, BreezeZip. Some of them are free. You must create that. I mean, you must send it to a compressed folder, and then you upload your compressed folder. So then upload. Okay. Regardless, this is a sample of what yours should look like. Whether I get your URL and that first extension that I'm going to be typing in. For instance, let's go to the exact page. Okay, showing you guys the outcome of our HT docs when we were working with week 1. Week 1 is we found my page in the title, and therefore we found my page on the tab. Now on the header, we're using in our body tag, we're using our header tag H2, and we found hello world, and therefore now we can see hello world on the front end. Remember, folks, you must upload any and all documents, and whatever you name them is going to be your file extension. For instance, my URL is Professor Tijerina, greatsite.net, and then your first week's assignment should be week /week1.html. Whatever you labeled yours will be corresponding, and then without this tag or this extension or the /, you will get that error 404, 401, 403, non-existent, and any of that, any of those tags, you will not be able to view exactly what you've been working on. So I will need for you guys to also submit that URL with that extension. So I should be having you guys also set it. All right. If you scroll down slightly, these are the things that I'm going to be looking for. Make sure you include these in the week 2 lab assignment. It's just 10 items. I wouldn't consider this to be too time consuming. It may be in about an hour, 2 hours worth of coding. But if you follow the instructions here, and of course my grading rubric is also included, so you guys can have a look of exactly what I'm requesting and what we're requiring, and of course how my grading procedures are. Now I am very hefty on the display. The reason for that is because I cannot see, if you give me a URL and if I cannot view it, it's the same token if you're in the job force and you're creating something for a client, and you may put all this work and effort into it, but if the client's not going to be able to view it or use it, it's going to be irrelevant. Therefore, also have you guys include URL with a file extension and submit your index file. Therefore, I also ask you guys in the file submission, if it's missing, then it's minus 50 points because I cannot see the type of work that you're creating. In other words, if the front end corresponds with the coding in the back end, I like to go in there and verify that you're putting in the work and you creating your HTML document, and it also helps as if your URL doesn't work and I can look at the index page on the back end, and if I see if there's any errors in the code of why I'm not being able to view in the front, I can identify it in the back end and perhaps give you some feedback as to how to fix it. And of course, one of my grading policies is if it's you can submit late work, but if it's a week late after the due date, then it's minus 10 points off the top. So on top of this rubric, yes, you can count on having 10 points off the top. 1 week late, 2 weeks late, 20 points, etc. But for this week's lab, very simple. I've practically gave you guys a free sample here of what it should look like, and your picture, your attributes, stuff. Go back to the chapter 8 and chapter 9 video. I'll just give you a rundown of what I'm expecting for you guys to read and to extract out of the chapters. Right. So, have any questions? My office hours are between Mondays between 6 and 7 p.m. Now, if there's a special time that you guys need for me to allocate, please reach out, and we will make any attempt to compromise and find the time so that you can have the attention and make sure that your questions are answered and be able to submit your assignments on time.